Hey everybody, welcome back to another Nature's Always Right episode. Today I'm at my best friend Jared Smith's farm, Jared's Real Food, in San Diego, California. It is July 7th today, so we're now in the heat of summer and in the full swing of all the summer crops. And today we're going to get into Jared's. He's got 2.5 acres in production right now. This is his main site that he started about 10 years ago. And this is actually the farm that I started out on as well and helped him at the beginning stages of this farm, and this is where I got my feet wet. But from that time, when we only had a few of the beds back there, he's built this thing all the way out to the end, completely finished it, planted out tons of different hedgerow systems, perennial systems with herbs and flowers, pomegranates, apricots, plums, peaches, apples, all sorts of awesome things that are now giving him fruit. So we're going to get into a little bit of his field vegetable production, as well as talk about his perennial systems. All right, Jared, we're back at your farm. What is it, like been 2 years maybe since we shot that first video tour?
Yeah, I think about 2 years or so, yeah.
So yeah, 2 more years of development and back to go more in depth into some of the different systems that you do here and just learn more about your farm, how it's changed over the last couple years, and we really are going to get into your CSA model and how that's been adapted for the difficult times that we're in right now.
Yeah, as many of you know, I started this farm almost 10 years ago now. We're in our 9th season and it's changed quite a bit from the very beginning, but absolutely from the beginning it's always been a project to build soil and to leave this place more fertile and better than when we started. And definitely over time we've seen that. We've had some really positive results here. We are doing different regenerative techniques, trying to replicate natural processes here, and just really establish a natural system where you don't need any kind of toxic inputs, you don't need pesticides, because essentially the whole system here has more of a balance to it. So yeah, we'll get more into all that. But some of the techniques that I've really been trying to do is, I guess, more what I'm trying to do with building beds is like more lasagna style, where you build beds with different layers of carbon, and that's been working very well for us. And also just trying to implement more agroforestry, so trying to really build more hedgerows and incorporate more herbs and flowers and fruit trees into the market garden, and just really increase diversity. And we've been seeing good results with that as well.
Cool. Well, let's start out with that. Let's check out some of your hedgerows and kind of talk us through like the design of them and the benefits that you've seen over the years as they've developed more.
And this one was planted just, I think, maybe 2 years ago or less. I forget the exact date. But as you can see, there's many different herbs in here. We got at the far end an apple tree. There's actually a volunteer tomato just going wild over there. And real lush area of oregano and thyme, which comes to the nectarine tree here, and comfrey, pomegranates, Mexican sunflower. This is still a young bed, but it's definitely getting established. You can see, you can't even really see the dirt anymore, so that it's all covered and looking real good. And if you look real close, you can really see a lot of pollinators, in particular honeybees, but also butterflies, all different kinds of stuff being attracted to this area. And in particular also a lot of beneficial insects that are going to be eating the insects that are going after our crops. So a lot of the hoverflies, the lacewings, the ladybugs, they're all attracted to these areas, and it helps us create a more balanced ecosystem. And aside from that, we're actually able to sell a lot of these things too. So the oregano and the thyme, certain times of the year we'll cut that, sell it fresh. We've been working with a local guy, SD Microbes. He's been buying the comfrey, really cool company. Obviously the fruit, once it's ready, we're going to be selling pomegranates and different stuff like that. We made bouquets with the Mexican sunflowers actually last week. We mixed them with our just the standard sunflower that people are used to, and mixed them together, and it was really pretty. Did bouquets with that. So there's a lot of different things you can do. I think a lot of people get caught up in maybe just doing perennials and hedgerows, which if you're really into permaculture, that's kind of really the emphasis. I think that's great. Perennials are great, but we've also tried to do annuals, so you'll also see that in some of our hedgerows as well. And we've also been doing trials with some of our new hedgerows with actually planting annuals first, the first year, and letting them seed out, and then the following year go in and plant gaps with perennials. And it's really cool because that way the annuals kind of keep sprouting every year on their own, just voluntarily, while the perennials kind of take over and develop as time goes on too. So we're just kind of trialing different stuff and seeing how it works out. But really the focus is herbs, fruit trees, and different kinds of stuff that is going to both attract beneficials but also be something that we could hopefully sell and make some money as well.
Nice. And what's been one of the plants that has been more profitable, most profitable, I guess? Maybe in the beginning, some of the annuals that you thought worked well in the beginning, and maybe some of the perennial herbs would have been better, the best sellers, I guess.
Yeah, so the herbs, a really good selling herb has been mint, actually. Oh. And surprisingly, a lot of people love mint. Now that one you got to be careful; it can take over, so you may have to manage it more if you end up planting that in your hedgerow. But all the herbs sell fairly well. They're not going to sell as well as the vegetables. Certain customer bases, like if you're dealing with chefs and stuff like that, you might be able to sell more herbs. So I think it really depends on your customer base and the area you're in. I'm really hopeful. I think the best thing is going to ultimately be the fruit trees.
Have you noticed a difference maybe in the pollination of your fruiting crops? You think that's been really good? And also, you don't spray anything on your crops, right, at all, so.
No, I mean, we do spray fish hydrolysate here and there. So like the only thing we spray is just like nutrients, so like seaweed or the occasional compost tea. But yeah, we don't spray any kind of pesticide or even organic. I haven't sprayed any kind of organic spray in a long time either. Because really the point is to get away from having to do any of that kind of stuff and just have the ecosystem in place that takes care of itself essentially.
Yeah, the benefits of the pollinators and the insects here, has it helped to balance out, you think, the bug pressure? Then if let's say you didn't have them,
you're right.
Do you think it would have more of an issue, or?
Well, I mean, I feel like it does. I think so. It could be other factors involved too. Like I know for sure our soil's been getting better every year. Yeah. So I think that's definitely a factor as well. But in general, we have noticed like the first years there's definitely more pest pressure, more insects, and as time has gone on, those things are still there, but to a lesser degree. And we have noticed a lot of pollinators here, a lot of beneficial insects.
Do you feel like your pollination, like your ratios are really high, like that you don't see unpollinated fruit very often?
No, not too much. I mean, our fruit trees are usually overbearing. Like our problem is we got to take fruit off because it's like too much. And with the squashes, almost every single one is pollinated. Yeah, we don't have issues with that. So I think it's probably helping with that, I would imagine. I mean, you could just look at these now. There's just bees everywhere in the rows. So.
Yeah. So this is. You think this is a good technique to have on a farm, and even do you think for gardeners this would be a good thing to have too?
I think so. Yeah. I think pretty much everything that I'm doing here is essentially just gardening, like scaled up gardening. So like most of these techniques could be used on a smaller scale in your backyard. The same concepts, just trying to get more flowers, more herbs into your garden, just more plants that are going to be attracting in the beneficials. That concept rings true, like regardless of how big you are or small you are. But yeah, I think big farms should be implementing this too. They could really see benefits from that, especially in in the prairie land where it's just flat and we're just doing monocropping, we could turn it into agroforestry and have, every 50 feet rows of trees, and in between that just, lush perennial grasses. Well, there's all kinds of stuff potential to this. So yeah, it definitely could be scaled up too.
And in your field here, how many feet is there another hedgerow? What are you doing here?
So with this site, it's about every 7 to 8 beds or so. But at the new site, it's much more standardized. At this site, we were kind of doing more experimental stuff. But the new site, it's every 10 beds, and essentially more or less every 50 feet or so.
And so this one's a little bit shorter. And so yeah, we're gonna go to his newest property that he's developed, where after refining everything that he's done here on this property, he took all those skills to the next place and then had everything super dialed from the beginning. Because as we know, it's takes a while to figure out what works well and what doesn't in your climate, what crops you want to grow, and all that good stuff. So
yeah, every year you learn something more and more, or hopefully you do. I mean, that's the goal. We never have it all figured out. So, but definitely this place looks a lot different than when we first started, and for sure we've taken everything that we've learned here, and we're trying to now implement it at the new site too. Just make it, that much better.